Hey everybody, this is Will. Today we're going to talk about what I believe are the 5 best MIDI controllers for drummers that are running tracks in Ableton Live in 2022. Everything we're going to look at today is a drum pad based trigger because I believe the best way for drummers to run tracks is to keep their hands on the sticks and stay in the moment. I have friends that have MIDI keyboards next to them, use iPads to trigger tracks, but we're going to talk about solutions that you can use with your sticks to trigger tracks today. That is the focus of today. And this is the next video in our series where we're talking about the best MIDI controllers to use on stage by instrument type. So the week before we talked about MIDI controllers for keyboardists, and before that MIDI controllers for guitarists. And so today we're talking about drummers. And what we're doing every single week that we do these videos is I start off with the most important part of the video, which of course is our joke about that specific instrument. So today we're talking about drummers. So I had to include 2 jokes because the best drummer jokes or best musician jokes are obviously drummers. So joke number 1, how can you tell the drummer's at the door? Well, of course, the knocking speeds up. And then number 2, which those of you that are drummers out there have to enjoy this one. How many drummers does it take to change a light bulb? 5. 1 to screw the bulb in, 4 to talk about how much better Neil Peart could have done it. Okay, with that, let's get to our 5 MIDI controllers, best MIDI controllers for drummers to use on stage running tracks in Ableton Live. Number 1 is, I think, the most unique out of all 5 of these, and this is the Nord Drum 3P. This, I believe, is also the most expensive out of all of these, so just be aware of that. But this is a really cool drum pad, both for triggering things in Ableton Live. It's a bit of an overkill if you're going to use it as a MIDI controller. In the same way, buying a Nord keyboard to simply use as a MIDI controller main stage is a bit overkill, but I digress. That's another video for another day. But the Nord Drum 3P is pretty cool because you can basically, it's essentially like a drum synthesizer where you can sculpt and create sounds from the Nord drum. And use them to create all sorts of different sounds, use reverb, delay built into it. But at the same time that you can create and sculpt the sounds, you can obviously use it as a drum pad. And so at the bottom of the page here, they even mention that MIDI in and out gets sent from, or down here, every time you play using the multipad, its external input is automatically output to the MIDI output, making the Nord Drum 3 a brilliant controller for other sound sources via MIDI. So again, this is maybe a little overkill if you're just looking for something to control tracks in Ableton Live with your sticks, you know, not take your hands off your sticks and just trigger tracks. We'll talk about some solutions as we get further down the list that I think are maybe a better fit for you. But if you're definitely into synthesis and you don't want just a step sequencer drum machine, the Nord Drum 3P is a really great solution. And it's very well made, and you can use it to trigger tracks in Ableton Live. So next on the list, this is one that a lot of my marching band friends and those in the marching arts use, and this is the Yamaha DTX-Multi 12. So I've been in a couple of different marching band setups that I've helped with Ableton, and most of them have this trigger. One of the things I personally like about this, and I should have set a disclaimer up front, I'm not a drummer, I'm a guitar player, do a little bit of keys and sound design, but I'm not a drummer in any form or fashion. I've never played drums, but as a drummer, I feel like if I were a drummer, if I were to identify as a drummer, I think one of the things I would like about this particular setup, if you are a drummer, let me know in the comments if you like this. Maybe you don't. As a guitar player, this is something similar I like in pedals, but I like the fact that the top row here is raised up a little higher than the bottom row. I like that we have this section here to trigger these pads, and then the top section as well too. The price on this is really great. MSRP is about $906. I think on Sweetwater it was like $600, $500, something like that. It's really well made, of course, and this includes internal sounds the same way the Nord drum does as well too, and almost all of the drum pads that I have mentioned here in this list. But this is a great drum pad that's pretty affordable. It's well made. Again, I like the raise thing. I'd be interested to hear from those of you drummers watching this, what you think about that. But that's Yamaha DTX Multi 12. The next one is one that you may have never thought of and is definitely a unique kind of outlier in this list. And that's the Bop Pad by Keith McMillan Instruments. Now, the Soft Step 2 by KMI made it in our top 5 for guitar players. Again, I'm looking at I'm not going to pick it up, but I'm looking at my Soft Step, my original OG Soft Step next here. Keith McMillan Instruments. Keith makes really great controllers and instruments for Ableton Live, audio interfaces as well too. And they all have, if you've ever used a soft step, if you've ever used his keyboard type controller thing and the little audio interface with faders, they all have that interesting kind of like feel to them. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. If you've ever used a Keith McMillan MIDI controller, you know what I'm talking about. Well, the Bop Pad kind of has that similar kind of feel to it. What I love about it is one, I mean, look at the price, $199. It's super affordable. It's got this kind of multi-touch, multi-velocity, expressive pad thing, 4 independently programmable zones, output MIDI notes, velocity, pitch bend, pressure, location in CCs. So you don't get as many pads as like a 6-pad thing with the top bit and the bottom bits. But what I like about this is, number one, the price. It's a really affordable price. Number two, it's very, very portable. Like, it's super tiny. It's USB powered. You can plug and use the MIDI expander here if you want to turn that into 5-pin MIDI if you need that. But I like that it's super tiny, super portable. You can get the Bop Pad mount to mount that to like a cymbal stand, or I don't know, maybe even a mic stand potentially. But for this price point, it's really, really great. If you've seen me talk about the Oaktone MIDI controllers, the play, stop, previous, next, you see them over my shoulder there. I typically just map 4 things when I'm using Ableton Live on stage, and I map play, stop, previous, and next. The Bop Pad is kind of like made for that, right? Really super simple: play, stop, previous, next. You can also, my buddy Daniel uses this as a drum trigger into Ableton Live, and you can change sounds on that. This does not come loaded with sounds, which is partially why it's so affordable and it's so thin. But again, if you're using this to run tracks, then I think it's a really great solution for the price, the portability, the connectivity. It's USB powered, which is great. And then again, you can load sounds in Ableton Live if you want. So that's the Keith McMillan Bop Pad, which is a really great solution. This next one here is the Elisa Sample Pad Pro. And this is super, super affordable. I believe it was like $399 at Sweetwater when I looked at it. So it's one of the more affordable solutions mentioned here. And what's great, it does have sounds built into it. I don't remember what those sounds sound like. I remember seeing at NAMM, gosh, probably 4 years ago now, when they first announced this, and saw them demoing it. And it just felt like the price point felt like it was a really great controller, particularly for people just looking to use those pads to control Ableton Live. And maybe you'll trigger some sounds out of Ableton Live, drum sounds and stuff. It does have sounds built into it. It does have 5-pin MIDI out, USB as well too. You could do foot switch. You can connect external pads as well here to hi-hat. So you could use this as like a little mini kind of drum set if you want to. Again, drummers, if you've used this and you've tried the pads and the response of the pads, let me know how you feel about that. And it looks like it's got these 6 surfaces here, then these top surfaces that you can use. So 8 pads in total there. But because of the price of this, I think it's a really, really great solution. And the number one solution, which you probably guessed if you're a drummer or you've been around using tracks on stage in any capacity in live music recently, you see almost every drummer has one of these, and it's the Roland Spd Sx. This is kind of the, I was going to say OG, but that would be like a MIDI cat or something that, or drum cat that I would say is probably more of the OG. Let me know in the comments if you know what I'm talking about when I say drum cat, MIDI cat, those guys. But I think the Roland Spd Sx is kind of the modern day equivalent of those guys. So they're incredibly well built. They have great sounds loaded into them. They have some audio effects built into them as well too. You can actually load different samples. I know, again, talking about the marching band, marching arts field, I know a few people that just load samples into this and trigger like full songs from there, which is great. But for what we're doing and what we're talking about using this with Ableton Live into trigger tracks, this is a great solution. So again, most people I know that have a Spd Sx use it in a couple different ways. They use like the top pads to navigate and the main pads here to play. And that's a cool feature of this, is you could trigger sounds from Ableton Live with maybe the main pads, but then use the top pads for your navigation and those sorts of things, which is great. So that's a rundown of the 5 best MIDI controllers, I think, for drummers that are running tracks in Ableton Live in 2022. Let me know in the comments though. This really is meant to be a kind of interactive thing. If you disagree with any of these choices, if you tried any of them and think they're not great, let me know. It's all all up for discussion. It's all up for debate. Just don't be a jerk. If you're a jerk, I'll delete your comment. But if you disagree, let me know. For some of the controllers and pads and questions I've asked and stuff for drummers, let me know in the comments too what you think, how that responds, reacts with you. I'd love to know. I also, if you want more suggestions, instead of just, maybe you're a keyboardist, maybe you're a guitarist, maybe you're looking for in-ears, audio interfaces to use on stage, maybe even a hard drive to run tracks from or to load samples from, and you're not sure exactly what you should use, then I highly encourage you to download my free gear guide. You can head to fromstudiotostage.com/gear. It's got all my suggestions for gear, things that I've personally used, things that I've used with bands that I work with, or artists that I work with, or folks that are friends of mine that have said, hey, I've used this on the road. It's road tested and mother approved. 2 thumbs up. It's ready to go. If you're interested in that, head to fromstudiotostage.com/gear. It's completely free. You can download that, check that out, and get the full scoop. And stick around. Next week, we've got a brand new tutorial continuing this conversation about gear, the best gear to use on stage. And that is going to release Saturday, 10 a.m. Central. Just like every single one of these videos releases 10 a.m. Central every single day. And if you like this content, do me a favor, hit subscribe. I've pinned a link in the first comment of this video where you can get to that super easily. But hey, thanks so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend, great week, whenever you're watching this. And we'll see you on the next one. Take care, everybody. Bye.